Like everything else in the world, film just continues to get more expensive. Today we are going to be using a bulk daylight film loader to turn one 36 exposure roll of film into three 10 exposure rolls of film. So stick around for that. So this is a bulk film loader. Mine is made by Lloyd's and it's actually old enough that it's made out of Bakelite. So what this is for is you load it up with a 100-foot long spool of bulk 35mm film. You place an empty cartridge in here, and then you roll on however many exposures you want, which gives you a full film cartridge that you can then go put in your camera. This is a daylight loader, which means you can safely use this in the daylight once it's loaded. You have to load it in complete darkness. And they would do that by removing this knob and then lifting this top piece off. And here is where you would have put the 100-foot spool of bulk 35mm film, fed it through here, where you would then feed it into the canister that would eventually go on your camera. We're not going to be doing that today. We're going to be taking a loaded 36 exposure roll of film, putting it in here, and then unspooling it into this area. From there, we'll be able to load three shorter rolls of roughly 10 exposures each. You're going to lose a couple of exposures for leader, stuff like that. So even though you're starting out with 36, you're probably going to end up with under 30 when all is said and done. Now, why would you want to do this? Why would you want to take a 36 exposure roll and turn it into three separate 10 exposure rolls? Sometimes it's just more convenient to be able to choose how many exposures you're getting out of a roll of film. Sometimes you need a smaller roll to test out a camera. Sometimes you need a shorter roll to test out a new developer. Sometimes you need it to test out a new technique. If you're like me and you keep accumulating new film cameras, you don't want to shoot 36 exposures before you find out that the light meter doesn't work. So this is actually a really handy technique. So if you're at all familiar with film, you will know that we need to do this in complete darkness. So we will be loading this inside of a dark bag. Once it's loaded, we can then load the refillable canisters in daylight, hence daylight bulk film loader. So let's head over to the workshop and I'll show you how I did that. So what we're going to be doing here is taking our 36 exposure roll. This is Fuji Superia Extra 400, which I'm not a huge fan of, but we're using for this. And we're going to place it in here. And in the dark bag, in total darkness, I'm going to, with very clean hands and possibly with gloves on, pull the film out and spool it around in here. So I want all of the film out of the canister, spooled loosely around inside here, but still attached. Then I'm going to put the lid on, put the top on, and then we will be safe to take it out of the dark bag and move on to the next step. So here I've got the daylight bulk loader with the film canister inside it. I'm going to throw the lid and the knob inside the dark bag and then seal everything up. And now with gloves on to prevent getting fingerprints and finger oils all over the film, I'm going to unspool this very carefully inside my dark bag. I'm not going to show you what that looks like because it would just look like somebody fumbling around inside a dark bag. So you have to use your imagination. So everything is done. We've got everything spooled out of this roll into the daylight loader. Just going to move the dark bag out of the way. And if we open this very carefully, you can see that roll is still there. The film is still attached. Now, if we take our crank, place it in position, and then we're going to look here, and we need 13 turns to get 10 exposures of film on here. So that'll be 13 full revolutions from here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so there's my 10 exposures. I'm going to do another half turn just so I have a little bit of leader material. And we are ready to very gently, again, pull this out. So I don't want to expose any more of this than I have to. I'm going to very carefully leave myself just enough. There we go. So this is just about ready to go. I'll need to cut a little bit of a leader shape on that. Again, I'm going to make that as minimal as possible so I waste as little film as possible. But while we're doing that, we're going to roll up the next one. Trying to expose as little of the film as possible, but centering it on the spool. I'm going to take that like that. Thread on there somehow. And then we need to load this very carefully like that. And then we're going to put that on there like that. And now we should be ready to go. I just want to make sure that there we go. Now we can close that up and start the process all over again. Gotta make sure that stays closed. There we are. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. And that is our next one. Done and ready to go. Again, I'm being very cheap with that. I'm trying to make sure that I'm leaving enough that I can grab and cut a leader, but I don't want to use too much because every time I do this, I'm exposing a little bit more of the film. So now I have 2 roughly 10-shot rolls. This will be the last one I load. And same rigmarole all over again. Grab some tape. It's way too much tape, but pretend I taped that much more neatly than that. And we slide that closed. So now with this last roll, we have to be really, really careful that we don't roll it all the way up into the film canister because there's nothing stopping it at the end of the roll. And this will be the last one. We're going to do our 10 count and very gently. I think I heard that go. Just going to open it. And yeah. Boom, done. Okay, so could have done that a little closer, but now, thanks to Mr. Daylight Bulk Film Tank, we have turned 1 roll of Fujicolor into 3 roughly 10-shot rolls that I can now use in my old cameras as I'm testing them out. So I hope that's helped a few of you stretch your film budget a little bit further and maybe test out some of those cameras that you've been hesitant to. Or test out some home developing techniques that you've been interested in trying out, but you don't want to waste an entire roll of film on. As usual, any questions, comments, concerns, hit me up in the comment section below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And until next time, keep making cool stuff. Mine is made by... So this comes apart by removing this knob. This